Hello and welcome to Two and a Half Brains. This is our weekly reality wrap up for week 13 of the fall of 2023, the 13th and final week of the fall recording season. Be sure to subscribe so you miss anything. You can like our Facebook page, facebook.com/pavementroadprod. Email pavementroadproductions@gmail.com. Subscribe right there on the YouTube channel. Share the post and tell your friends as we break it all down here. The final part of this is being recorded end of December of 2023, and this is the final week of the reality shows for this week. We had the Amazing Race finale last week, and this week the Survivor finale for Survivor 45. We're going to talk all about it and break it all down. So only Survivor this week, obviously, as Amazing Race was finished last week. I'm going to start with it, of course, bringing Jessica as well, who's been very, very casually keeping tabs on the season. And I'll get her thoughts on what she saw from the season, and then we'll go from there. So, like I said, this was the finale of the season 45, and we started off with the return from tribal council after the Drew vote out. So kind of similar. This season had some similar stuff to season 43, in the way that one of the biggest threats to win the game gets knocked out at final six, headed right into the finale. The only difference was, in this case, there were three real strong contenders to win who were left, as opposed to that season only had two, and those two went out first, right? So this was it was a little different in that case, but and of course that season, the two contenders win, got knocked out fifth and fourth, or in this case there was three contenders to win, so you knew at least one would be in the finale at the final, when they were three left at the final five. So the tribal council, that sent Drew out, kind of isolated Austin. Austin's kind of on his own, so he ends up going back to Dee and talking like, hey, what happened, blah blah blah, and she's like, yeah, they want to take out Drew, something I could really do, blah blah blah, and so then it's time for the immunity/reward challenge at the final five. And it turns out that it comes down to Jake versus Austin for the immunity and reward, and Austin pulls off the win. So then it's Jake's turn to go on the reward according to Austin. So Austin brings Jake on the reward with him to give him a meal, and obviously they go into the tribal council in that regard. Before all that happened, of course, they had a challenge for a advantage in the basically they had to run around the camp to find count things and then use those to unlock a combination lock, whatever. And Jake ended up winning it, so he had a small advantage in the challenge, and he ended up being in first place for a while, but ultimately falls short. And Austin wins, but then Austin takes him anyways. So we go to the tribal council, and Jake has his idol, he has to play it. It's his last day to play it, and he's kind of thinking, all right, well, I want to make a big move with this. So he tells, he's basically, he knows the votes are coming on, maybe some for himself, maybe some for Katurah, and then there's also the move to get rid of Julie, because Julie's been a big threat, obviously, the whole game. So, Jake's like, he knows his idol can get him one step further, but obviously wants to make a move to add to his resume so that he can have a shot to actually win the game once he gets there. So, the tribal council comes down, and Jake and Katurah are talking about it, and it's also Julie's they're talking to Julie about, hey, Julie, what, you want to make a move, you want to do something, blah, blah, blah. And really, the move is for Julie, Katurah, and Jake to work together and then take out Dee in this case, because Austin has immunity, so have to take out Dee. So Jake's plan is to take out Dee, and he figures, if worst case scenario is to tie, last week is worst case scenario is how we'll get somebody to flip. This case, he's got the idol. His plan is to have 2 votes go on Katurah, 2 votes go on. He's like, we don't even need any other votes. Obviously, Julie would be fine, but we don't need any other votes. We just put 2 on D with Katura and himself, and plays the idol for Katura. Katura is saved, and the 2 votes bounce back, or 2 or more votes bounce back on D, and she goes out of the game. So the votes go down, and Jake plays his idol, and he's debating who he's gonna play for. And he says ultimately he's gonna play on Katura. So he throws a vote on Katura, and when they showed Katura's voting professional, from the behind top angle, so you didn't see who she voted for, but she said she's changing it up because she doesn't really trust the plan, or doesn't really know, she's gonna do her own thing. She doesn't really think the plan's gonna work, whatever. So Jake plays it on Katura, and the first vote's for Katura, and it's canceled out. And then the votes for Jake, and that one counts, obviously. And then a vote's for Julie, and then a vote's for D, and then the final vote is for Julie. So almost everybody who was eligible votes did, but at the last minute, Katura changed her vote, and the votes ended up being 2 votes on Julie, and she was out with that, as opposed to the vote to get the move to get rid of D. So Julie goes out here at the final 5, and that sets up a final 4 with now just Katura, Jake, D, and Austin. And I guess the irony is that Katura didn't trust Jake, and after the tribal council, he's talking. There's a conversation about it, and Katura's like, I didn't trust Jake. I didn't want to vote that way because I thought you were playing me, and because of that, she ended up not being able to get rid of D. And if she would have stuck with Jake's plan, she would have got rid of him, would have got rid of D, and that would have been it. But of course, she didn't trust that. She said he was playing her, and she said, if you were playing the idol on me, you should have just told me, and that would have definitely known that you were voting with me. And he says, well, he wanted to make a splash move in front of the jury and didn't want anybody else to know about it. So that's ultimately what happened. But Katura switched her vote, and Julie went out instead of D. So of course Austin and D are loving this, because now it's 2-2. Best case scenario is 2-2, or worst case scenario is 2-2. And if they can even pull in another person and whatever. But obviously there's not gonna be a vote. But they know that it's neither one of them is really in too much trouble at the final 4. And Jake and Katura, getting into it, kind of makes their lives a little bit easier. So at the immunity challenge, for the final immunity, it is it's D who wins it. So that goes to the final. So she's guaranteed a spot in the final 3. She outduels Austin to get to the end. To get to the end, basically, to guarantee herself a spot in the final 3. So she has a decision to make who she's gonna take to the finals, and who's she gonna send to fire. So her thought process is that she wants to take Austin, even though Austin may have had to beat her. But she figures if she sends Austin to fire, he makes fire. It's a move on his resume that could make the difference. To give him the win, and she doesn't want to do that. So she wants to kind of lessen Austin's resume by not because she knows he's good at fire, and if she sends him to fire, he'll probably win. She thinks Katura has a good story and could maybe speak well and win some jury votes, and Jake hasn't really done anything in the game either. So she figures Jake could go to fire against Katura, beat Katura, knock her out of the game, and then she doesn't have to have Austin do that and and get a notch on his resume. So the move is interesting. I didn't think Katura was that big of a threat. I really felt like Katura really didn't do a whole heck of a lot the whole game. But D's concerned about Katura, and I guess to weigh the option, is Katura a bigger threat if she beats Jake in fire than Austin is if he wins in fire? right? So it's like that's really what it comes down to. Is you know if is it worse for Couture to win in fire against Jake or Austin to beat somebody in fire? And ultimately, she decides, to send Jake. She thinks Jake's good at fire. Austin talks to him and gives him some pointers, and go reports back to D that he's not really that good at fire. He's kind of just so at it, and so D's a little bit concerned. But ultimately, so she's like really debating, should I put Austin into fire to beat Couture, or is it gonna be better if I just is that Marquez resume gonna really help him and maybe put him over the edge? Ultimately, she decides, you know what, I gotta not give Austin that chance to do anything. I gotta keep him, basically on the bench for the final couple plays, if you will, and go from there. So at the end of the day, she decides to go ahead and put Austin in the finals with her, and have it be Jake versus Couture. In this final in the fire making challenge, Jake starts off pretty strong. Couture's fire starts to grow a little bit, and then it goes out, and she smothers it. And then Jake builds on the fire and doesn't really do a whole lot. And Couture starts the fire, and then it goes out a little bit. And then Jake's fire gets going and burns to the rope, and Jake wins fire making, goes to the final tribal as well. So Jake feels good about it. He made fire, and he's got a lot of his friends on the jury too. I mean, obviously he was close with, he was close with Bruce, at least, that's for sure. Aside from that, he wasn't too, the girls from his tribe, Original Bello, liked him, but they weren't that close. But he does have Kendra, Couture, and Kelly, and then Bruce. So that could be 4 votes right there if they just vote along, tribal lines. So that's kind of where it comes down to. And Jake's a little bit worried because he says, the only real move he's made was winning fire. He tried to make that big move with the idol to save Couture and take out D, but it kind of didn't work that way. So he's a little bit worried about it. But they go to final tribal, and this was a really good final tribal because they kind of sort of brought back the jury. They did the jury speaks videos like they always used to do, but they did it as they had been doing, kind of having the jury members talk about what they're looking for from the winner. They do that, in the episode while the final 3 having their breakfast and kind of cut those in, mixed in throughout the final episode before the final tribal. And then also, they kind of went to the jury speeches, kind of. It was still like the 3 parts, but instead of Jeff stepping in and saying, okay, now let's talk about outlast, now let's talk about outwit, now let's talk about outplay. He just kind of said, it's outwit, outlast, outplay is the kind of the theme of the game, and the different parts kind of blend together, and then each person kind of gets asked a question, and there's multiple follow-ups from the other players, from the other jury members, and everybody can kind of, it's still an open forum, which I like better than the jury questions, because the jury questions all get kind of repetitive and boring and everything like that. But in this case, the jury members each get to ask a question, and then it's kind of a jumping off point for everybody else. So I like that too. Everybody kind of got a unique question, but it was more of a conversation starter than an actual just a question and answer, which I like that a lot. I thought Jake did pretty well. I kind of felt like everybody was going to get a vote. This whole time, I feel like everybody's kind of doing decent. Austin did pretty well. And then really the last question was, I feel like it was maybe because Emily was kind of aligned with Austin as well. So throughout the game, so I kind of felt like she'd be kind of on his side. So I couldn't really see which way the votes were going to go. I could see, I didn't think Jake was going to win because he didn't do a whole heck of a lot, but he had some friends on Bello. I was a little bit worried. But I figured it'd be coming down to Austin versus D, and it did. But the last question that really changed maybe swung the final tribal was a question about the Julie vote. When Drew went out of the game, and when Drew got voted out, Julie played her idol, right? And the vote. I guess the vote when Emily went out, I guess you can say, because I think Emily kind of asked the question to get it started. But when Emily went out, Drew's plan was to take out Julie there at the final 7, and Austin didn't want to tell Dee, or Drew didn't want Austin to tell anybody because obviously Dee could tell Julie could play her idol, and that is exactly what happened. Austin, said he wasn't going to tell anybody, but he told Dee. And then Dee said she promised she wouldn't tell anybody, and then she told Julie, who then played her idol, and Dee pretended the whole time like she was upset about it, that Julie played the idol and everything like that, but obviously was working with Julie, and then told Julie to take out Emily. And that's what happened. And Julie confirmed it on the jury. And then also she said that Julie wanted to take out Austin, and Dee convinced her not to, because Austin was her other number 1 and didn't want to lose Austin in the game as well. So in essence, Dee saved Austin at that point and told Julie, but nobody knew that she told Julie. And acted upset that Julie played the idol, even though she knew the whole time that was what was going to happen. And then the next vote, obviously, the vote was to take out, the plan was to try to take out Julie again, but Julie told Dee they're flipping on Drew. And Dee had to decide whether she was going to tell Austin the plan so that he could play his idol, because he had an idol, he ended up wasting it, not needing it, he played it for himself, didn't need to. He could have played it on Drew and saved Drew, but he didn't know the votes were going that way, because Dee didn't tell him. And that was really the difference between the two players in the game, was that Austin told Dee because he wanted to keep her close. Dee didn't tell Austin because she figured she could just mend the fence after the fact. And she was right. And that vote, I think, really, got her Emily's vote, maybe got her Katura's vote, or maybe Emily's and Julie's. I'm not really sure. But the votes come down, and it was very tight. And it kind of seemed like it was going to be. And once it became clear Jake wasn't getting any votes, it became very, very reminiscent of the Wendell and Dom final tribal, and with Drew in this case, with Jake in this case being the Laurel. And so it's and Jake even said after the fact that he was at the after show, he said he felt like when the way the votes coming out, he was thinking, oh man, who am I voting for? Because it's gonna be a tie. I'm gonna have to be the tie-breaking vote. The whole time that's what he was thinking. And so it's Dee, Austin, Dee, Austin, Austin, Dee. 3 votes each. 4th vote is for and it's funny. It was funny too, because I think maybe that the move that Dee made there at the final 6/5 got her Caleb's vote too, because Caleb, when he went to vote, he yelled Jake like he did when he played his Shot in the Dark. He yelled out a name that he was going to vote for. But he didn't vote for Jake either. He obviously, because nobody voted for Jake, he voted for Dee. So it was 4 votes for Dee, 3 votes for Austin, with 1 vote left, and the winner was Dee, getting the 5th deciding vote, winning 5-3-0, and Dee becomes the winner of the season. So overall, a very exciting finale, a very exciting ending to the season. And I'm going to wrap it up now, basically with obviously recapping the finale is part of the show, but also the other part of it here today is talk about the season as a whole, kind of where it ranks, and then kind of looking ahead to the future, also ranking the winner of the season as well. So with Dee winning the game, we'll talk about that here as we bring in Jessica to help us with the wrap up of the whole season. And how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. So obviously, you were very casually watching, kind of just mostly just keeping an eye on my recaps and seeing a few moments here and there, but not really too invested in the season. So I do want to get your opinion on it, obviously. I do want to get your opinion on what you saw and what you heard and everything else. Obviously, give me your general overall thoughts on the season.
From what I saw, it's probably a little bit better than past seasons that we have seen before. Really mostly watching a lot with like the last probably half of the season. But I called it that Drew was going to get knocked out
Yeah, you did.
before the end because the nerds never make it. Final 6, I watched pretty much that, and the people there seemed like they should be there for the most part, and it wasn't as... The only thing that I saw that I noted, and I know I said something about how no one wants to cut anybody because they're close with them or whatever, not making choices for their game because they're someone's number one. It seemed like that was a struggle for some people to kind of get over that and eliminate who they needed to vote out.
For sure. And then playing emotionally is definitely, a struggle. So, obviously, we talked about some things you got right, some things you got wrong. I thought that Kelly had a good shot to win. She was my winner pick after the first episode. I picked her to win. She was definitely a threat and got knocked out early because of that. She maybe, if let's say, for example, if Emily at the split vote, if it was a bit right before the quote-unquote merge or whatever they end up doing, it wasn't really the merge. It was more of the, whatever. It's the merge, guys. It's the merge.
The win your buff merge?
Yeah. Crap that they do. I hate that.
Yeah.
With that, the vote right before that, it was two Bello, two Reba, and then Emily in the middle, right? And it was Brando, Kendra versus Drew and Julie. Yeah, Drew and Julie. And she had to decide which way to go. And I think that's what it was. And she ended up going with Drew. Maybe no, it must have been Drew and Austin. I think it was Drew and Austin, and it was Drew. Because I think Julie and Dee were together at the swap. Yeah, so what must have been my bet? What it was? It was Austin and Drew, and then on the other side it was Kendra and Brando, and Emily went with Austin and Drew side of it and voted out Brando. I wonder, had she done the other way, gone with Kendra and Brando, vote out, let's say, Drew or Austin, for example, in that vote, I wonder how the season's different, right? I wonder if Kelly becomes the D goes out, when Kelly goes out, and then the whole thing's different. So, I don't know. Interesting thought. It's always, one thing makes a lot, huge difference is per, usual. So I'm not, who knows? But I thought Kelly was going to be good. She was.
I would say based on the beginning of the season, I thought Emily was going to be gone.
Certainly.
Early, so.
Yeah, and she had a huge turnaround that ended up being really, really popular and really popular with other players in the game even. And she masterminded the Bruce vote out and then immediately, had to take some credit for it because, you got to build a resume and then immediately vote out right after because, we make a move. A lot of times you are the next target. But I said there's some things that I got right, a lot of things I didn't. But I did call going into the finale that I thought Dee was going to win it. And I thought it was going to be Dee or Austin. I felt good about that. I'm glad ultimately that the person who played the better strategic and social game won over the person who did better in the challenges.
I was rooting hard for
Jake?
Jake at the end. Yeah, I know. Big surprise to me too.
I know. Well, the Boston guy, you love Boston Harvard guy.
I really don't, but the only thing that you didn't mention that Jake asked to be in fire making.
True.
He wanted to be there, so Dee, I heard you mention how Dee was just trying to decide between Jake and Austin. Austin asked to be put there, or suggested he should be put there, but she honored that and still put Jake there. And I thought that's what kind of pushed him, and the way that the jury was kind of coaching him during the interview process, if you will, and just saying, no, stop, don't sell yourself short, and this and that. That's why I thought, maybe he's got a chance, or is at least going to get something.
Yeah, it's a very good point. And like I said, I did kind of talk over that or overlook that, I guess. But he did say, because he wanted to not be taken there, and he wanted to be allowed to make fire. And then when Dee heard that he wasn't maybe that good at fire and that Couture could beat him, Austin's like, hey, maybe put me in because, And I think the thing is, if you put Jake in and he loses, you probably have his vote.
Yeah.
Because you honored what he wanted. Yeah. If you don't put him in, then he's not gonna win anyways. But you piss somebody off, for no reason. and you gave Austin the chance to make fire and boost the Bills. And if he does that and he makes fire, that could switch one vote. And it's a tie, maybe it's a tie and it's a tie between Austin and D, and Jake cast the deciding vote. He could definitely cast the vote for Austin, certainly.
No one thinks about how that could backfire on them too. Austin could say he wants to be put in there, and all of a sudden Katura magically can make a really good fire once.
Yeah, certainly. And if that's the case, Austin, I think Austin was the only threat to her anyways. Honestly, I don't think Katura was that big of a threat to her.
I don't think so either, but everybody's always so confident, like, well, put me in, I can do it. It's like, well, we've seen that before, and they can't.
For sure.
Some people fizzle.
Fizzle, yes, for sure, for shizzle.
Exactly.
So...
You're so funny.
I know, I try. But I said, so a few things we got right, a lot of things I got wrong, as per usual. The winner picks are one for ever, for the most part. But
I don't think I've ever picked the winner, so.
Well, before that, maybe not directly before the season, but at the beginning of the season you did.
Which one?
You picked Ben, yeah.
That was the only one, yeah, and that was.
And you had a good feeling.
First started watching it.
You had a good feeling about Wendell.
Yeah.
But, anyways, so what I wanted to talk about though is the season as a whole. Kind of wrap up the whole season. Talk about where it kind of fits in, the pantheon of Survivor, and then look ahead to the next season. What we try to do a little bit is avoid talking about next season because the trailer looks awful.
Mm-hmm. This was 45, right?
Yeah.
So it's actually drop the 4 and just leave the 5. So it's actually season 5. So.
Well, yes, because as per how it usually works, nothing that happened before you exists. Right. Also, they told us who they're in the after show that Austin was an alternate and ended up being put in last minute.
Right.
He didn't know that, and of course, him and Dee had a relationship, and he finished second on the season, and everything else, and he wasn't even supposed to be on. So, pretty cool how that turns out. Things are having a reason, I guess you could say. Imagine if it happened differently.
Was that a behind-the-scenes Survivor? Knowing I didn't know they flew alternates out on
they don't
the
always.
Island?
They have been doing it. I guess they kind of have been doing it
just because of COVID.
Well, yes, definitely for COVID. But even there was a season where a girl quit right before the show, and they only had 19 contestants. Both Blood vs. Water seasons had an issue with a pair of contestants. So they end up having less people than they were supposed to, or different people than they were supposed to, or whatever.
Non-elimination episodes, I would assume.
No, they still had elimination episodes, but it was just it was instead of having 18, instead of having 20, they had 18. Mm-hmm. Instead of having, in one case, they had 20, they had 19. And then the original Blood vs. Water, the Codys weren't supposed to be on. It was supposed to be RC and her father, and her father couldn't pass medical. So they brought in the Codys to replace RC and her father, and that made a big difference in the season as well. So, let's, I guess, kind of, I don't want to talk about the season 46 too much because, again, like I said, and the Survivor, I would love to see a return player season, but Survivor's trying to build up their bench, quote unquote, by having, because they don't want to cast anybody else for returning player season from pre-Ford, which I think is just dumb. It's because of all the diversity stuff they're trying to do with having enough gays and minorities on the show, so they want to have, so there was they didn't have that diversity quota, quote unquote, before really 41. So if they cast Christian and Janet and Elaine, well, there's a gay person in there, but also it's all white people, and so they don't want to cast all white people on the next return player season.
Ageism. I mean, they got Janet, who's older too.
Yeah,
in that,
sure. So they want to just not cast anybody for a return player season who played, like even Rick Devens, right? But these players who are really good, who would love to play again, because of the color of their skin, they're not gonna play again.
I mean, I don't know if they just don't care about their ratings then, because those are the people that everybody wants to watch come back.
Certainly.
So either you want your ratings in one way or another, and one way or another you'll get them, but just being too specific.
Diversity is the only thing that matters.
Yeah.
And it's pretty pathetic because give me a completely black cast. Give me
Against diversity, but everything shouldn't be specific to that.
I agree. And so give me all black gay people on a season. 20 black gay people on the show. If it's a good show, I'll watch it. Period. Don't give me don't not put good people on the show because of the color of their skin. That's just stupid. It's just ridiculous. We should be past that.
Their sexual orientation, all that.
It's just stupid. It's just stupid. So that being said, they're not going to do another return player season, at least for another couple seasons, because they want to have more good, gays and blacks on the show before they do that, so they can cast only from 41 on for return player seasons. That's the current plan. I think it's stupid. I think it's a bad idea, but it is what it is. They showed 46. They showed like 3 people talking. They all seem like absolute lunatics. And I have a bad feeling 46 is going to be like 43, or should I say 44, and 41, which was 41 was all about diversity and the race and all that crap, and 44 was nobody knew anything about the damn games for like 2 people.
It's 41 Shan in them though.
Shan, yeah, and she was great, but she was the only player who knew what the hell she was doing really.
Well, that season wasn't that terrible of that, but it definitely it did center around. I mean,
there was a alliance based on black people.
I know. I'm saying, it was good for the most part, but it did focus on race and just, I guess, calling that out. I'm trying to think of the right term, but it's just being separate though. Like, people separating themselves based on race as well. Yeah. Which we don't need that.
No, it was bad.
Yeah.
And then of course Ricard, who was angry that he got voted out, turned the cast against Deshaun and the jury against Deshaun and Xander. Yep. Those two could have won, and they said it wasn't Survivor. It was a mess. It was awful, and they had a terrible winner, a winner who didn't do anything the entire game, but it was just voted with one player once, and that player turned the rest of the jury against everybody else. It was just stupid. Yep. And then 44 was really all whack jobs who didn't know what the heck they were doing either. And the only one, Carson was the only one who did anything the whole game, and he gets knocked out at Fire, and again, it's all loser in the end, and then loser wins.
Who else was on 44?
That was Carolyn and Jam.
Oh, yeah.
And it was awful.
That wasn't whatchamacallit, so...
Gabler?
Oh, that was Gabler's season?
43 was Gabler.
Okay, so 43 was Gabler and... not Carla. Carla.
And Jesse.
43. Okay.
That was a better season.
That was a good season.
It just there's three good people left in the final 6 with a shot to win, and those 3 all got knocked out 6, 5, and 4, and we're left with nobody really good at the end.
Yeah, 44. I didn't expect to want Carolyn to win. I was pretty disappointed that she didn't.
I didn't want her to win until the end, and then when she didn't win, I was mad. Mm-hmm. I didn't like her whole season until the last 2 votes, and then at the end, I really wanted her to win.
I liked her the second half. She started to grow on me with everything.
For sure.
Yeah.
So it was not great. So I'm hoping that 46 isn't that, because 45. So they show 46. They show just a bunch of weirdos, and it sounds like it's going to be rough, and I'm not looking forward to it. That being said, I don't want to go. I'm just going to leave that there and not think about it, and just kind of hope it doesn't happen that way, and hope it's better.
I hope the season doesn't happen. Me too.
It already aired. So it already happened. I already filmed. It's already happened. But I'm worried about it. Yeah. That being said, I don't want to spend too much time on it. Let's talk about the positive stuff, which was season 45.
Okay.
Season 45 was, in my opinion, it was the best season since 40. I mean, there was the biggest difference between this season and other seasons in the 40s was this season had a final 5 where 3 people could win. So you knew at least one of them was going to be there. Other seasons, anybody who was worth it, anything in the game was out before the final 6. Yeah. Like last, 44 had nobody who could win left. It had basically one person who could win in the final 5.
Because all of the misfits took out the winners, and then none of the winners wanted to stick together because they're afraid of bringing other threats with them.
Correct.
And you have to.
You have to. You have to bring other threats with you at least far enough. Yeah. Because the thing is, everybody was afraid to be the Laurel and take Dom and them to the end. Yeah, I know. But
that was a different situation.
A completely different situation. It's completely different because nobody wants to be the Laurel and take Dom and Wendell to the end because they can't beat Dom and Wendell. But then you're going to end up being the Jesse, who takes out all the threats, and then there's no threat left and loses at 4, and now there's all losers at the end of the game. You're the one with a shot to win, but you're not close enough. Yeah. You want to be the only person with a shot to win at the end. not the only person shot to win at the final 5.
I feel like it started to fizzle way before all that too.
Oh, yeah.
Like Tommy and Lauren in that season.
Yes.
Like I was
38.
so mad with
Chris's season.
Lauren should have won. Yeah, oh yeah.
Because I mean, Nick's season was last season when he had a good winner, and then Chris's season when he won. If there's anybody worth a damn at all in the final 4, Chris comes back, he takes out Devins. And he wins the game. But like Devins was obviously the player to win, and he had taken out 4. You got to keep somebody else in the game who has a shot at 4 and at 5.
Yeah, wasn't that Chris, Julie, and Garrett or something?
Gavin,
that's it.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, it was terrible. And then same with 39, right? 39 was Tommy and Nora and Dean. Mm-hmm. And I'm rooting for freaking Dean. Are you kidding me? Or Tommy, who's
rooting for any of them, and
right.
Nora was your pick.
I know. It was terrible.
Freaking nuts.
It was awful. And 40 was great because it was all returning players, whatever, and all winners. So it was a great season. But obviously there's stuff still that people didn't like, which I understand. 41 was terrible. 42 was not good, but Marianne at least did something in the game to win. She just made a move to win the game. 43, Gabler was just there and was a vote for a vote that they could use. And 44 was awful. So 45 was the best season since 40. That's great. I'm happy. Low bar. And I hope it does that going forward. But the players need to learn. You got to keep threats in the game at least for a while. Mm-hmm. The problem is people see, that person could win. Let's vote them out. And that's kind of that. Honestly, that whole thing started with Adam's season. That whole as soon as the person comes to threat, we got to take him out. That started with Adam's season because Adam was, the second biggest threat the entire game, but somebody else would jump up in front of him, and then they'd be taken out. And somebody else would jump up in front of him, and they'd be taken out. And again, got down to the final 4, 2 people could win, and one was taken out 3, and there was only one left. And that's how Adam won because he was always the second biggest threat. That's not the biggest threat. But if you played the game thinking about, okay, who can I take to the end, who can I beat, you got to also understand how do I get there. Because so many players think, I got to take this person out because they can win. Yes, but if you take them out, who's the biggest threat next? And they don't think of that far ahead. They think about this person's the threat, I got to take them out.
Right.
And they don't think about, who can I beat?
Right.
And who can who's a bigger threat than me to keep in the game as a shield.
Right.
That's kind of why Tony won his second season.
You make friends with threats.
You do. You keep threats in the game, and then you take them out as far as you can, and then get rid of them as close to the end as possible. It's about timing. Big moves don't matter. Timing matters. Right? And the reason Tony won his season 40, is because he aligned with the other big threats. He aligned with Sarah, who everybody wanted to get rid of. He aligned with Jeremy, who everybody wanted to get rid of. And went to the end with people who, he went to the end with people he could beat, but only reason he got there is because he put enough other bodies ahead of him that were bigger threats than him to keep the shield. You have to keep the shield going, and you have to keep yourself in that spot. So the bottom line is I really hope that the players see the season and learn from it. Because, again, you have to keep threats in the game. Do what Dee and Austin did. Stick together. Don't have to be a showman, for God's sake. But, stick together. Keep your big... And don't just stick together like with a crappy alliance just because it's an alliance. Make an alliance with people who are also good at the game. And that way you can also... You all play... And even Austin lost, but he finished second. And he got the end of the shot. He didn't get to the end, get no votes, and get shut out. He got the end of the shot, and he finished second. And second place is still pretty good money, right? Or do what D did, make good alliances, make good strategic moves, have a good social game, and win the game. I said, a woman who's physical is the best player in the game because they're not going to be a person who gets voted out early for being bad at the challenges. They're gonna, they can win a few challenges, when they need to. And they're strategic and social. That's the ultimate threat, And they're not seen as a big physical burly dude who's gonna be the big threat who's voted out early. D was probably one of the shortest people out there, smallest people out there. But again, decent challenges, one of the most community challenges, strategic, and a great social game, and that's why she won. My point is, going forward, players need to see this and be like, "Hey, look, just because somebody's a threat doesn't mean they have to go today. I have to keep them on my radar. In fact, I should keep making an alliance with them so I know what they're doing, so I can watch their every move. Make an ally with someone who's really good at the game, so that way you can keep them close to you and cut them at the end. You cut them at 7, you cut them at 8. again, everyone who caught Kelly early, right at the merge basically, and Caleb right at the merge, made a mistake.
Killed the liar. So.
Exactly. You vote Caleb and Kelly right at the merge, basically, you screw everything up, because the rest of because now you become the bigger threat.
Right.
You become the biggest threat, and that's you gotta avoid that. So the good news is, for the season, it was definitely the best season since 40. Had the best cast since 40. Had the best winner since 40. The reason I was rooting for Dee at the end is not because I think she's great and deserves the money, and I personally like her. The reason I want her to win is because I want the person. I always root for the person who I think has played the best game. That's what I want to see win every game, every season. The players play the best game. That's why season 44 pisses me off. Season 43 pisses me off. Season 41 pisses me off. So the best player, even in the final 3, didn't win.
Right.
Right? And the player who played the best game, even in 43, didn't win. Or even in the final 3, didn't win. Right. I mean, maybe Gabler was the best player in that season. I don't really know. Probably.
Who's it, Gabler? Who?
It was Gabler, Gabler, Owen, and Cassidy.
Oh, yeah, you were rooting for Cass. I don't know. I liked Gabler as a winner, but,
And it's fine. I was, him versus Cassidy, both were fine.
Yeah.
But they were the final 5 players left in the game, they were 4th or 3rd best player left in the game.
Well, yeah.
So I mean, it's like I didn't want to even get there.
Right.
How do we even get that?
Right.
So because players take each other out too quickly and cut each other too quickly. So I think I'm happy to see that we had a good winner finally. Happy to see we had a good end to the season. I'm happy to see that the season itself was pretty exciting. That's about all I can say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully, it's time to see things to come. 46 doesn't seem like that. And, of course, 46 didn't see the season, right? 46 filmed their season before this one aired.
Right.
So that I can know what happened here and like that.
Right.
The auction was cool. They bring that back. They did a good job with it. Some of the twists were good. Very few twists actually resulted in anything. Idols really didn't get played to any effect. Or, none of the twist really. I mean, they had the safety without power that got wasted, nobody used it, so things like that didn't really have a huge impact on the game. My fear was, like I said, that Reba was going to run it and be at the Final Four, and it would be boring because they all had the same story. Thankfully, they turned on each other, but thankfully they didn't turn each other too early where they one of them, the 4 people on the game, somebody needed to win that. People on the game. And season past, it hasn't been the case. So thankfully, in this case, it was. So congratulations to Dee. Congratulations to Austin getting to the finals and everything like that. Jake did a good job getting there as well. Obviously, Jake reminded me a lot of Owen from that season 43. He tried a lot. He worked hard. Mm-hmm. He got close in a lot of challenges. He had ideas to make moves that just didn't land.
I mean, I can't believe he was there at all.
Right.
So.
He was a decoy boot
every single week.
The entire time.
Yeah. And
then I got to the point at the end where if he could have made a couple moves that worked, he could tell that story. It's the end. At the end, it's telling your story.
Right.
And he tried a lot. It just didn't land. It just didn't work.
Right.
If it would have worked, he probably wins the game because he sneaks by. But again, when it doesn't work, your threat level goes down.
Yeah.
Instead of going up, and then people want to take you to the end.
Right.
So, like I said, I was happy that we finally had a nice season. I hope it's not this rare. It has been because there's been 4 seasons without really anything good happening.
Yeah.
And all the players again get knocked out too close, before the end.
Right.
I don't need the best player. I don't need the player who's running the game to win every season.
Right.
I don't need that. I don't need Jesse to win. I don't need Carla to win. I don't need even season before that with Shan, whoever. I don't need those people to win every season, but once in a while it'd be good. And in this case, Dee was kind of that player, kind of running from beginning to end, and made strategic moves. Had emotional here and there, but made strategic moves and did their thing.
Right.
And I was happy about that.
Right. Yeah.
So hopefully we see more of that in the future, and not just this garbage with players getting knocked out and nobody worth a damn at the end.
Yeah, that's what makes it hard to watch.
For sure. and they focus on the actual playing the game, not other stuff outside of the game. Like I don't care about. I really honestly the character development stuff I could leave. I could do without. Obviously, you want to know a little about the people who are playing. That's why it's a reality TV. So they're actual people, not robots. But like, I could lose most of that and be happy.
Yeah, it has nothing really to do with the game. You're there to play that game.
Correct.
So just play the
Like
game.
like when you play Monopoly, do you care about the backstory of the person you're playing with? No, you just play Monopoly.
No, when you flip a table, that's all you do.
Right. Exactly. So, leave that stuff alone. I don't care. Go out and play the game and play strategic and go from there.
Yeah.
So, anything else?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. So, let's go ahead and wrap up here then. Obviously, be sure to subscribe to us anything. Look at our Facebook page, facebook.com/paymentroadprod. Email paymentroadproductions@gmail.com. Subscribe right then. YouTube channel. Share the post. Tell your friends, etc., etc., etc. Same as always. Appreciate that. Let's wrap up here with just a couple last things. Obviously, happy about the season. Happy how it ended. Happy with the winner. As far as again, I can't really rank it as far as other seasons go, but as far as the 4Ds from 41 on, it was the best of since 41.
4Ds? There's only one D that played.
Yeah, exactly. And she won, so good for her. But yeah, it was definitely the best season, the best cast, the best season since the new era, if you will, quote unquote, as I like to call it, the new stupid era. You want to talk about diversity is important. Well, guess what? It was a great season. It was one of the best seasons ever. Not best seasons ever. Let me take that back. One of the best seasons. It was the best season in the modern era.
Yeah.
The best season. It was the best season in the modern era. And the Final Four had an African American woman, a white guy, a Hispanic lady, and an Asian guy. Mm-hmm. Can't get any more diverse than that. And it was a great season. So cast good people.
Yeah, no one's complaining about diversity. Complaining about just making sure you have them all there and they're not good.
Right. Just cast good people. Give me good people who are entertaining, who are good at the game. And cast people who suck at the game, too. A couple of them. There were a couple in there who suck at the game.
They had 3 lawyers.
In the Final 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No one cares. Just good people.
Cast good people. If they're crazy, if they're dumb, if they're stupid, whatever, a couple of those are fine. But cast people who are good at the game. And are going to be entertaining. That's it. Give me that. The way the season started with basically two of the first 4 people quitting, not great start, but it ended strong, and I'm happy about that. As far as next season goes, I would love to record about next season. That being said, we're going to have to figure it out because there's going to be some scheduling issues. Obviously, we're not going to be able to do much live with our edition on the way. Mm-hmm. And Jessica's been with child this entire season, so she has been able to record with us, which is fine. Also, the season has been the last couple seasons have kind of broken her anyways from wanting to watch it.
I have enough stress going on.
Yeah.
Stress with the dad. Yeah.
We don't need that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously, as I said, of course, the first time she doesn't watch a season is the first one in a while. Or watch it closely at least. But I said so, and then we got behind. It was hard to keep up and all that stuff too. The point is, with our new baby coming, we're very excited. We're not going to probably be able to record when the show happens, obviously, but possibly we can record at some point down the line, rewatch it and record at that point, whatever. But I don't know how or if we're going to be able to record this season. Plus 90 minutes for the Amazing Race and 90 minutes for Survivor as well.
With the newborn.
That's going to be, and the newborn's going to be coming probably weeks or days before the season starts. Not likely.
I think I'm due on a Wednesday, so.
Exactly.
It's funny.
Exactly. And it's probably the Wednesday before the season starts. So I would say, or it could be maybe the Wednesday of the season starts.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Either it's probably the Wednesday the season starts or the Wednesday after.
Yeah.
Either way, it's going to be tough. So just all I can say is subscribe. We'll give it what we can when we can. I'm not going to promise that I'm going to be able to do another show. This may be the last show I ever do for Amazing Race and Survivor, or ever for that matter, or anything else. But we'll see. I'll give you what I can give you when I can give you.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Unfortunately. Or fortunately. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess you're welcome or I'm sorry. I don't know.
Whatever. Take it however you want to take it.
Yeah.
So be sure to subscribe so you get everything what we put out when we put it out. And thank you for listening. Thank you for another great season. And thank you, Jessica, for being a part of it as you have, especially with all your help with the Amazing Race. I really appreciate that because trying to do both shows have been a lot.
Yeah, no problem.
Anything else?
Safe travels. Kidding.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, good luck. And we'll hopefully talk to you guys soon. Until then, I got nothing else for you because the tribe has spoken.